Hey there. Welcome to the Everyday Marksman, the podcast where it's all about tactical skills for living a more adventurous life. I'm Matt, your host. Our website's everydaymarksman.co, and today you're going to find our show notes about run and gun competition because I sat down with a few of our very own community members who have been recently running a few of these matches out in Texas and Arkansas. So I want to bring on Al, Alex, and Dave here in a second. I recorded this one last week or so this isn't like live or anything. But we talk about their experiences in these tactical biathlons, which is something that I had a guest post on the website a little while ago talking about this very thing, and it keeps circulating in the community. And people are doing more of them, we're learning, we're sharing information, and I'm doing one at the end of April, so I figured why not bring on the guys who just did it and see if I can get a leg up on the competition next month. So our conversation is going to cover a lot of topics like gear, training, physical fitness, and lessons learned. Stick around for the show notes or a summary at the end where I'll talk about some key takeaways. So with that said, let's get to the discussion. Welcome, guys. It's a pleasure to have you here on Everyday Marksman. It's always nice to have community members.
Good to be here.
Likewise.
So the topic of the day is run and gun events, the Waco Tactical Fitness or the Gun Run, which I'll be doing in April. I want to kind of go down this rabbit hole here of what has been your experience so far, and then we'll dig into some of those lessons learned. Selfishly, I'm kind of cheating so that when I go in April, I get a leg up in the competition because I'm not that good a shot. So
do your hills, bro. Do your hills.
Do the hills. As if I had any significant hills around me. But you all right. So you did it in Arkansas, which I'm going to West Virginia. That's like cardio territory. Anyway, getting ahead of myself. First question. So about the why. Why would someone do this? Why did you sign up to do this? So I'll go to Alex first.
So the short answer is Al called me out. The long answer is I want to set the example to my kids that you can do hard things.
Dave?
Like I said, the doing something difficult was definitely a part of the motivation. Also, a big part of it was just like, this is the most significant non-square range thing that I've gotten to go do. Even like 2-gun or IDPA type stuff is in a bay. Mm-hmm. And this is like me in the woods with a rifle. So that was the main motivation.
So the next question I want to go down a little bit is we kind of got the why on this one. Challenge yourself, do something, set the example for your kids. Preparation. So talk me through like the call it the month or two leading up to when you first like showed up at the range to get going. I'll start with Dave.
The main thing that I was doing is I weighed all my gear that I was going to take with me. And then I would try to ruck with that much weight and do more distance than I was going to have to do at the race on those rucks. And that was complicated by a gear issue, footwear issue. but that was the idea. And then I'd mix in a little bit of running with those. That was the main.
So in your case, did you know how long the course was going to be beforehand?
Yeah, we knew that it would be 5 to 6 miles. Not exactly, but my goal was to get up over doing 6 at a time.
Okay. And so you said your footwear was an issue there. What was that issue?
Yeah, so it was initially a sizing issue with my like normal hiking boot, and on like a smooth trail, it's fine. But once you get some weight loaded on and you get on uneven terrain, then it becomes hotspot city pretty fast. So I got a nice new pair of Salomons and they fit really well. And I was excited about that. And I got started with those. And again, on flat ground, they're great. But then I had an issue where my heel would slip up and down once I got on uneven terrain or had to, step higher and that type of thing. And so that ended up just not working out as well. I tried to make it work because I was like, it just needs to break in. But no, it did not. So I actually completed the race in some like flat bottom running shoes that I have.
Okay. All right, Alex, what about you? How'd your prep look for it?
Like regret. I pretty much did this one cold because outside of my normal like strength stuff, which I've been doing, and going from tactical barbell into kind of doing some prep, it was mostly like treadmill hill programs. not a lot of running because of a foot injury in my left foot. And then the occasional ruck to troubleshoot how things fit. And that's about the extent of what I did. Learn from my mistake.
I'm actually curious to hear how we'll get into the fitness preparation part of this because you've been pretty active in the Discord server as far as like daily workouts and posting what's going on, especially with tactical barbell stuff. So we're going to come back to that one. Al, welcome to the party, pal. So I'm going to go back to rewind a question on this one. It was why did you sign up? Why did you want to do it?
Because I like to test myself and I like to suffer, and that's exactly what that was test and suffering and test. So I just like push myself and see where I'm at and see what I can do to, improve here and there. And that's pretty much it.
All right, cool. And then in your case, we're talking about preparation. What did your prep look like for like 1 to 2 months ahead of time? If you did anything?
No, nothing special. Just kind of ran pretty much what I had. I took a course for the half a day. We work on a customized zero, and I did that. Night before, I cleaned my firearms and lubed them, and that was it. I already had all my gear set up for the most part. So
I'm curious for everybody, kind of open floor here. It sounds like a lot of the preparation was fitness oriented with rucking and hills and gym stuff and a little bit of zeroing with equipment. How much y'all actually put in the time for like dry firing and like thinking about the stages?
Me personally, I don't ever dry fire. The only type of training I do is when I take a course, which I try to do that at least once a month, somewhat often. And I just read the course of fire one time, and that was pretty much it. I didn't try to memorize it or anything.
Right, it went for it. How about Alex, Dave? What are you guys?
I went over it pretty carefully to be sure I was going to be able to carry enough ammo and that type of thing. Because it outlined how much you'd need nominally per stage, and then recommended that you carry about twice that much. Also, there were some at least clues given on what the longest range targets were going to be. It was going to be about 500 at ours. Also, they gave some indication of what the target shape was for that one. So I was able to pull that shape up in my ballistics app and, get used to what that looked like at 500. Not a ton of dry fire specifically.
What about you, Alex?
Regrettably, again, I did not do a whole lot of rifle dry fire, but because the holster that I was going to take, that was the first time I'd used it in a match, I made sure to do plenty of draw stroke practice on it. And I did some, but not a lot of support side pistol work. Absolutely none on the rifle work. And that's, again, regret.
So speaking of rifles, let's I actually want to get into what the gear says. So we'll start with the rifle. We'll go to you, Alex. First, Alex. So you just did the one in Arkansas. So tell me about the rifle that you set up and took for the event.
Okay, so the rifle I used is a factory-made Aero 16-inch. It's still got the FSB look to it. It's fitted with a TA-50, which is the 3X ACOG in a crosshair. And I stacked a Holosun 508T, and that was I probably zeroed that, I think, at 25 meters about 4 weeks before I went to the event, and that was the last time I shot that rifle prior to the event. Okay. Other stuff on it, it's got an Edgar Sherman sling. Highly recommend. It never slipped on me. And yeah, that's about all there's to say about it.
Okay. Dave, what about you?
On the rifle, it's one I put together myself. It's a pretty lightweight profile barrel, old ALG rail, which again is pretty lightweight. I wound up with a heavier stock on what was my main lower, and so not too long before the competition, I got one of the KP15 polymer one-piece lowers, and that worked out fine. So I was going for a lightweight rifle, and then I put 2 pounds worth of Vortex Razor 1-6 on top of it, and that balances out. This is my main gun, though. It's so it's got a flashlight on the end. that type of thing. I didn't like take anything off for the competition. I just ran it as it is because, that's what I need to learn.
I'm curious how does that balance work out? Like even 2 pounds of optic on a pretty lightweight rifle. Did that feel awkward at all?
No, I think I definitely wanted the performance of the optic. When I put this gun together, like, I don't know, 10 years ago, something like that, it was in a very different form, but the goal was for it to be lightweight, but still, relatively precise for, its size and weight. And it's done pretty well with that. But over time, it just sort of started accreting stuff onto it. And, I wound up with a UBR on the old lower. And that was, just one day I picked it up and I was like, my 7-pound rifle is a 9-pound rifle now, kind of thing. And not the end of the world, but I said, if I'm going to go to this race, might as well get back towards where this started. And I was glad for the 1-6.
All right. And Al, last but not least, what were you running?
It's a Daniel Defense, the M4B7, 16-inch. Put a Geisley trigger on it a while back, and it's got a flashlight on it. I didn't just like Dave, I didn't take anything off mine. That's my main rifle, so I didn't take anything off for the competition.
Okay.
The LPVO is a Night Force Attacker 1-8.
I'm going to interrupt this interview for a second to talk about our sponsor. Yes, this episode is sponsored by Ammo Squared. Ammo Squared is a ammunition service who's a little bit different than your local retail outlet or the kind of place you like to go stock for the best deal. Think of Ammo Squared like a 401k for ammunition. You can set aside a budget every month, automatically deposit it to your ammo account, your wallet, and then take that and they go find the ammo that you want and stockpile it for you. So for me, I set aside $50 a month. I say, hey guys, go find me, 20% of that goes to 22, 20% goes to 9mm, and the rest goes to 5.56. And I can lay out some specifications like no steel tip because my range doesn't allow it. They go find it, they build it up, they buy it, and they stockpile it for me until I want it shipped to my house. So it's been a really awesome service to have for the last year. I had built up a really healthy practice stash doing that. And recently they've added 2 features which I think are really awesome. First one is that you can send ammo to other people. So let's say you and me are both friends here on Ammo Squared and you want to send me 2 boxes of 5.56, you can do that. You can use ammo like currency, which also includes settling ammo back if you don't need it. So these 2 really awesome features. Come check out the website, everydaymarksman.co/ammo for my whole write-up on the service I did before, or just go to ammosquared.com. Back to the interview. All right, so speaking of lessons learned, I'm going to go for rifles here. So it seems like everybody's pretty much running a 16-inch with magnified optics. So what regrets do you have about your choice?
That I never practiced with it on support side.
Yeah, so support side shooting was like, so it's not even the rifle itself. It's just not practicing with it.
That's one of 2. The other is the range limitations I have out here. I can't engage beyond 100 yards. To Dave's credit, that's a brilliant idea going into some kind of ballistic calculator. And if you know what the target's going to look like, start getting that mental image of what the sight picture should look like for a target that size.
Now, in your case, because you were running the T850 with the fiber optic, you mentioned it actually had bloomed on you, right?
Yeah. So on stage 7, final stage of the match, from the way the range itself was oriented, I was probably looking into the sun, and that's the part of the fiber on the ACOG I didn't cover. So going back and reviewing my GoPro footage, you can clearly see the 2 times that I actually hit the first target, I have covered the ACOG with my support hand because it's just too bright and I can't see where the splash around the target is.
Dave, what about you? Any lessons learned or regrets about how you set up your rifle for that?
The rifle itself, no, not necessarily. I definitely saw where a first focal plane, something like a 1-8 or 1-10, would have been nice. I'm still not quite ready to lose the 1X on the Razor, go into another option like that. So I think my gun will stay as it is. But if I were going to build another upper just for running guns, it would have a probably 1-8. The other one was my ammo that I took. I honestly, in hindsight, don't really know why, but for the long stages, I knew I was going to have to shoot. I took enough nice like match ammo for those. And then I had the impression that a lot of the other rifle targets were going to be a lot closer, like you would see in a lot of like action shooting competition type stuff. And so I just was like, well, for hosing cardboard, you don't need anything but 193. So I'll just take a bunch of that. And then all the targets were, it feels like at least 150 yards, which is not a long distance for 193 by any means, but let me get into this later more. But like when you're gassed and tired and sort of critically unstable because of all that, then a C zone or whatever can be hard to hit. And so every little advantage I could have taken with me, I would have taken. So next time I do it, I'm going to take nothing but 75 grain.
Okay, cool. And Al, what about you?
Yeah, the ammo. I wish I had something a little hotter. Well, I did, but I didn't zero my optic for it because kind of one of them things. I had a bunch of 223 PMC bronze, so I zeroed it for that 223, and it's pretty weak. So I do wish I had some hotter ammo. I probably could have got to stretch out my zero a little further. It would have shot a little flatter.
So that's the rifle piece. I actually didn't ask this one earlier, but what pistol were y'all running to?
I was running a Glock 19X.
I got a G45 MOS with a Holosun 507, I believe it is, the open solar model.
Okay. Mine was a M&P 2.0 with the inaugural match for my Acro P2. Okay,
so running two people running optics and Al and running irons. I'll be running irons in mine, CZP07. So touch on equipment briefly, just so we kind of get a lay of it, and then we'll get to how it was carried. So what load carriage did you go with? Start with Dave.
I've got a Blue Force Gear chalk belt. I've got a Tactical Tailor Mav split front rig that I took, and I just ran more mag pouches on that. And most of them were rifle mags, but one of the double rifle mag pouches I used to cram 4 pistol mags into. So, and then water on the back of it. And that was it.
And plates or no plates?
Yeah. Not for the Waco tactical ones.
Got it. All right, Alex.
Okay, so kind of similar setup. Had a Blue Alpha inner outer belt with enough mag pouches from either Tactical Tailor or Spiritus Systems to give me 2 rifle and 4 pistol. And then on a split front Tactical Tailor Mav, I had another rifle magazine, hydration on the back of that. And then I carried some loose ammo in the 2 JSTA pouches from Spiritus Systems on the belt. That actually proved to be pretty clutch, I'm not going to lie.
All right, Alan, I know you were all multi-cammed out, so what were you running?
It's a Cry ABS chest rig with their harness, so you can run it as a standalone chest rig, and a Blue Alpha Gear, just an EDC belt that I hung off a subload off of each side.
Okay, I'm going to ask how did the subloads work out? Because this was covering a lot of ground. How did that work out for you?
Man, they did not move. They stuck in place. They actually worked, especially the pistol mag side. I thought that one was going to shift more than the other side because it seemed to weigh more than the pistol. So they stuck in place. I mean, I was very surprised. It worked out pretty good.
So now I have a lay of it. All right, how did equipment work out? I'm just curious, like what worked out? What are you going to change next time around?
Next time I'm going to set up something that's more for running gun. So it'll be lighter in weight and just more purpose driven for running gun. So I will be trying that out next time.
Dave, anything?
Overall, my rig worked pretty well. I kept like I said, 2 rifle and 2 pistol. So I had plenty of ammo on my belt for each stage, and then I would just backfill from the chest rig as needed. The only kind of gear issue I ran into is very late in the competition. The inner and outer belts started to separate a little bit, just because I was crawling through a wood box or something like that, probably. So I just need to add some more Velcro to anything that is between the 2 halves of the belt to keep it tied down a little better. Yeah, other than that, it was fine.
Cool. Alex?
So belt-wise, can't complain. I really don't have that big of a problem with belts. As far as chest rigs go, I think I'm going to break the internet and say chest rigs suck, at least for me. Because I ran into a couple of problems. This is the second match I've run that particular chest rig. And every time I use a chest rig, I walk away thinking this just gets in the way. The first time I ran that chest rig, I had too many mag pouches on it, so I had trouble holstering a pistol to the point where I felt unsafe. So I decided I needed to slim that down. Then I got to this combination of a history of back issues, plus going up hills, plus starting out each stage with the least accessible mag in the gun. If I lose track of where it came from, as I did in stage 4, I'm going to look to an empty pouch on my chest rig for the next mag that's not there. Going forward, probably just going to consolidate down to just belt-mounted equipment setups, because I've tried and I just can't make chest rigs work.
What's interesting about looking at what you all have posted about how these things went, I'm split on here. What's a more important thing as far as fitness goes? Is it this long-term endurance? You can go rucking for miles and miles and miles at one go, or is it a little bit more about that intense activity for a little bit and then be able to recover from that fast enough to go shoot well?
Yes.
It's both.
I'm afraid it is.
I could say all of the above, but I think Dave has it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely all of the above.
Okay. So walk me through, Dave. So tell me, like, what is that? What does it feel like? What's the experience like doing that?
For my race, it starts off with basically just a 2-mile run. And then you, at the first couple of stages, they were pistols only stages. And so there were obstacles there. And then after the pistol stages, there was a little bit of climbing in uneven terrain where you go down into a creek and then come back up out of it. And then you climb through some tunnels. And I mentioned all of that together just to say that I felt okay until I came up out of the creek. And then it like kind of all caught up with me as I was approaching the tunnels that you have to crawl through. And it was at that point that I decided that I felt like the conditioning or like cardio was not there. It's like I should be able to just go for longer than I have already gone and be okay. And the only like huge exertions I'd had were the tire wall, flipping a tire, and I don't think the climbs in and out of the creek were that bad, but like it just keeps stacking on more and more and more stuff. And so I got to stage 3 of the first rifle stage, and my physical state was bad enough that just trying to take sort of an improvised vertical hold that on any other day would just be super stupid easy. Stability was just not there. I wasn't even like necessarily huffing and puffing anymore by the time I got to start, because we got to the stage and waited for a couple other people to go through before it was my turn. I wasn't necessarily winded, but I was spent at that point. It's like there weren't enough calories in me, maybe, or maybe some sugar or something to pep me up before that. But yeah, and that was the biggest surprise of the whole race, is that I could not just suck it up and hold the rifle still on a C zone that was 150 yards out from me or whatever they were. Biggest lesson learned. Movement to contact is important during contact.
Alex, what about you? What
Sure.
how about you? Was your experience about the same?
Yeah, so in Arkansas, right out the gate, it's a big hill that, man, you got to be some kind of mountain goat to get up that thing and just not be spent already. And once you got up that, first stage is pistol stage, and if you don't have to wait, you got to shoot right away, and you're not spent, but you're huffing and puffing, or at least I was. And yeah, if you know, my conditioning was better, which I knew going in, it wasn't that great to begin with, but if I had, you know, better cardio, I wouldn't be huffing and puffing as much. Yeah, kind of like how Dave said. My main deal was, I guess, some hills just killed my leg. I wasn't having trouble keeping my rifle up. So as far as my arm strength, upper body goes, I was fine. It was just like from the lower back or mid back down, and after stage 5, going down the hill, my legs were trying to buckle on me. It was taking every bit I had just to keep myself up from rolling down this damn hill. So I'm guessing leg strength for this particular one. Waco doesn't sound like it's got hills like this one. I mean, you're literally running on a mountain, up and down a mountain. Yeah, cardio's king, and lower body strength would have been nice to have.
So I'd say lower body strength or lower body strength endurance would be another way to look at that one, where it's just keeping the work up for a long period of time.
So it sucks for the first hour, and after that is just I got to a point where it didn't matter what I was doing anymore. I was just pushing through it. But so I'm guessing my grit got me through it more than anything else. So yeah. So you know, if you have endurance, good endurance, I guess you'll be all right. But you know, if you have leg strength too, that especially for the hills, that's going to be a world difference right there.
Alex, I'm going to go back. I saved you for last because you and I have been following similar programs with tactical barbell and everything. So I'm curious what your take is.
I'm going to say leg strength is king. My Garmin is insulting me by telling me that first hill was only a 200-foot elevation increase. I swear it's 4 times that. But you have to do that up to the first stage. And then guess what? You got to do it again after stage 3 before you get to 4. And oh, by the way, now you got to navigate through a forest and slash piles and all manner of other terrain obstacles, trying to find these little yellow flags to mark your path. Some were more visible than others. And I felt like once I got past the initial hill, which sucked, I harbor no illusions about that. But once I got past stage 3, and it's like, okay, now we're just going to go back up the hill. All right, put the rifle in front of you, just carry it up the hill. Okay. Now you're at level-ish ground. Sling the rifle back over and look for your next path marker. And after that, I mean, the only thing that really started to demoralize me was the amount of mud on the back end of the course.
So if you were giving advice to somebody to go back and how to train for doing a run and gun or a gun run, where would you say they should be putting their emphasis? Like if you're me, you've got about 2 months out, where should I be putting my emphasis?
Man, I'd say cardio. And shooting.
I mean, we'll say everything. Like where if you had to pick the top 3 things of focus on these 3 things, what are those going to be?
Cardio, shooting steady, keeping your rifle steady, and knowing your zero. I guess those are my top 3 if they had to be 3.
I think cardio has to be in there. For me, I just need to learn more about energy management, like what all plays into that and how best to sort of, you know, if I need to take some lickies and chewies or something like that to have throughout the course to keep my energy level up, then that would make a big difference. And then doing something like, you know, run a mile, then do some burpees, and then work a VTAC barricade. It is something like that, just to get yourself into that that place where you're not able to be in total control of what your body's doing, and then try and bring that control to, dry fire or whatever it is you're doing. That was the challenge.
Alex, last word on that topic.
Have good fundamentals of marksmanship over everything. Because when you're gassed, that's going to be the first thing to go. Second, know how to do support side positional shooting. And third, do your loaded carries on hills.
Got it. Okay. And then one more question, and this one's primarily aimed at you, Alex, because I saw you mention this like 3 or 4 times after you were done. But if you could have taken one more piece of gear with you, what would it have been?
You're talking about all my rangefinder comments, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
Well, see, if I had done what Dave suggested and actually knew what my target sizes were going to be, I wouldn't have had to do that. But considering as though they posted the course of fire the Thursday before the event, and I got it as I'm flying back from Omaha that night, not a whole lot I could do about that.
Okay. Dave, what about you? Was there anything else you would have taken with you? Lickies and chewies aside?
Yeah. No, again, if I were building or kitting specifically for the race, I think a first focal plane optic, to be able to back off a little bit. Like on the long range stage, you shoot from near to far. So it's something like 250 out to 500, 5 different targets. And then you switch to your left shoulder and you shoot far to near. And it took me a while to realize that I needed to apply a good solid wind hold for my nearest target. I knew the wind. I knew what it was going to be for my long target. It just didn't put 2 and 2 together that the mid-range would matter as much. But then when I switched shoulders, I had the hardest time connecting because I was fishing around for my eye box, and it was just something that I had not worked on much. So the ability to back off and still have good holds and that type of thing would have been a help, not necessarily make it or break it type of thing.
Maybe this is over optimizing for something like this now, knowing in hindsight how it went, but like, do you think this would be a decent case or something like a 2 to 10 plus a offset red dot?
For my particular race, yeah, it would have worked fine. A buddy of mine ran with just that on his, and he had different sets of issues, but I don't think magnification was his problem. Okay. Just maybe a little extra weight if you go that route. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
always trade-offs.
Always balancing the weight. All right, and Al, what about you? If you could take one more piece of gear with you to make your life easier.
Probably a little pack where, I didn't think about it today, brought it up, but energy management and, take some lickies and chewies, but also that pack can serve as just dumping your, spent mags in there. So, yeah, and I had it with me, but I didn't take it with me. But just a little pack, that would have helped me out a lot because I found myself needing more energy. And I was pretty much running off of a hot link and some coffee that day because I didn't know what to eat because I didn't want to barf everywhere. And then I get there and then I didn't thinking I was going to run, right away because I don't know how these things work. And then they tell me, oh, you don't run till like 11:20. I'm like, oh, man, I ain't had nothing to eat since 3 o'clock in the morning. So when I posted that picture that I was hitting the road, I was happy with a hot link in my hand and some coffee, and I hadn't ate since then. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure I needed something to eat. So, a pack with some lickies and chewies, some type of calories, and it also double as a dump pouch.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right.
Hey, Matt, I also want to bring this to the audience's attention, and that my experience was a little bit different than everybody else's because I ran early enough that I never waited. I had one stage where I was behind one person, and otherwise it was as soon as I got there, I shot.
Okay. That's good advice. All right. This has been good. Hopefully y'all enjoyed talking about it. So
Cool.
Thanks for coming on. All right, let's talk about my key takeaways from this discussion. We kind of went all over the place. There's a few recurring themes that I kept hearing over and over again. And I'm going to pick on three things I think make the most sense to talk about. So number one, obviously, is the importance of cardio. I've heard a lot of instructors, especially those in the small unit tactics area, like Max MVT, talk about cardio is the biggest thing you have to have if you're going to be fighting in combat. And I've always heard this in lots of different ways, never specifically about what that means, like what good examples. And the reason I talk about this is because they say too many people focus on strength training. And frankly, I'm guilty of that too, because I don't like cardio. And we do that at the expense of cardio. Well, I think this sounds at this running gun competition, though, the Waco Tactical Fitness, seems like it gives you a pretty good idea of the kind of cardio they're talking about. On one hand, you are going to have to move over distance under load for a period of time, where that's 2 miles, 3 miles, 6 miles, 10 miles. On the other hand, you also have these short bursts of intense activity, like climbing a rope, going over a wall, crawling through a ditch and running out of it. And then you have to go shoot. So you have to be able to recover quickly from those things and then shoot accurately. So that's the cardio piece of it. Something else they kept talking about was leg strength. So this reminded me of something I read from General S.L.A. Marshall, published in 1951. He wrote a study for the Operations Research Office. I have it linked to in the show notes, by the way. And it was titled Infantry Operations and Weapons Usage in Korea. And this is a whole review of how the Korean conflict was going, what was going on with infantry soldiers. And one of the points he listed out seems like it is just right up the alley here. So I'm going to quote it. The chief physical weakness of American infantry is in the legs, due in part to the underemphasis on the importance of road march and training schedule. So what this tells me, going along with the running gun idea, is that you have to train the legs, both under load, so rucking, running, all this through the legs, but also just straight up muscular strength. How much can you lift, and muscular endurance. So if you are training along with me for the running gun in April, I have a whole train with me piece of the website going on now, so you can sign up and join the fitness plan. It's already started by the time this episode goes live, but you can still sign up and get the plan for yourself at everydaymarksman.co/train with me. I'm putting a lot of emphasis on this idea of muscular endurance and cardio. Okay, so I'm going to train for that. And number three is the marksmanship piece of the training here, is that it seems like nobody put that much time into really doing dry fire and practicing their drills before the competition. Now, the round counts in these competitions seem fairly low, which means they're probably really difficult, if I'm being honest with myself. So I think the answer here is to combine not just regular dry fire practice on its own, which is important, but to also combine dry fire with the exercises. So for example, I'm going to email everybody doing the train with me here, but we're going to talk about this, where I think the best way for me to do this, granted I have a home gym, is especially on the Saturday workouts, which are going to look like some pretty crazy circuits at times, is in between rounds of the circuits, when you've been doing push press and front squats and RDLs and barbell rows for 50 reps each, is in between, stop and do a dry fire drill, work a VTAC barricade or a step ladder, in my case, in the garage, and make sure you understand and can practice what it feels like to try and hold that rifle steady after you've been exerting a lot of effort from a fitness standpoint. All right. I don't know about you, it's not practical for me to go for a run around my neighborhood with a rifle over my back, so I want to do the best that I can. But I do think combining these two activities is going to be a key to success. All right, and that's going to do it for me. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Come by the website, everydaymarksman.co, and I will hope to connect with you on another day. Take care until next time.